Hello and welcome back. Willow has always been one of those characters who tugs at your heartstrings. She came into our lives carrying so much pain and vulnerability, and for a long time I genuinely rooted for her to find peace and happiness. But lately, oh, how the writers have twisted that knife. On the surface, she's become the town's quiet hero, the person everyone turns to when they need discreet help. Chase reached out to her twice recently, first for adoption papers and then for support in securing custody of his child. I remember thinking how sweet it was that she wanted to repay him for all the kindness he'd shown her over the years. Then Laura came knocking too, desperate for a way to help Anna navigate some legal trouble in France and get her into a private facility. Willow listened with such genuine-looking compassion, praising both Laura and Anna for what they did for her in Greenland, and you could see the relief wash over Laura's face. I actually paused the episode and said out loud to my empty living room, well, maybe she really has changed. That's the power of this show, it makes you believe right along with the characters. Yet beneath that saintly exterior, the shadows have been growing darker for months. We've watched Willow orchestrate the drugging of Drew, leaving him paralyzed and terrified, and then manipulate Nina into doing the same thing to Brennan. Those scenes still give me chills. I've followed enough soap operas to know that secrets like these rarely stay buried, but the way the writers are building the tension now feels especially masterful and a little heartbreaking. I keep asking myself, how long can one person maintain two completely different lives? The public Willow, warm and helpful, and the private one, ruthless and calculating. It reminds me of some of the great villains from the 1990s, like when we thought we knew someone, only to discover layers of deception. I've always believed General Hospital does its best work when it forces us to question our own loyalties, and this arc is doing exactly that. What fascinates me most right now is how the ground is shifting under Willow's feet. The story is clearly heading toward a collapse, and it's not just her crimes being exposed, it's the way the people closest to her are starting to see the truth. Laura, bless her heart, is about to share a new revelation with Chase that could change everything they both believe about Willow. I've been speculating for weeks about what that revelation might be, and my guess is it ties directly into Nina's growing regret. Nina has been carrying the weight of what she did to Brennan, and lately she seems to be cracking under the guilt. I've watched her character evolve so much over the years, from fiery troublemaker to devoted mother, and now to someone wrestling with real moral consequences, and I have to say, her remorse feels authentic. It's one of those quiet, powerful performances that reminds me why we've stayed with this show for so long. When someone like Nina starts questioning her own actions, it ripples outward, threatening to pull Willow's carefully constructed world apart. And then there's the latest twist that has me absolutely glued to the screen, Brennan and Drew waking up. The moment both men begin to regain consciousness, the clock starts ticking louder than ever on Willow's fate. I actually leaned forward in my chair during that scene, heart pounding the way it used to when we waited to see if Jason would survive another brush with death. The writers have confirmed, through subtle clues and loaded glances, that Willow's downfall is no longer a possibility, it's inevitable. She's being betrayed not by enemies, but by the very people she thought she could control or keep in the dark. That's what makes this so devastating. When your own family or closest allies turn against you because they finally see the monster behind the mask, it's not just plot, it's tragedy. I'll be honest with you, my fellow longtime viewers. Part of me wonders if the show is moving a little too quickly toward this reckoning. I've seen storylines in the past where a character's redemption felt rushed or their villainy felt overdone, and I worry sometimes that the writers sacrifice nuance for shock value. Yet I also trust the history of General Hospital enough to believe they'll handle this with care. Willow's world is truly about to implode, and the fallout is going to affect so many lives. Laura's sense of judgment, Chase's trust, Nina's fragile new path toward honesty. The obsession that's been driving Willow lately, the way she's become consumed by maintaining her image at all costs, has created a new kind of trouble that feels fresh and dangerous. It's not the cartoonish evil we saw in some earlier eras. It's the quiet, desperate kind that could belong to any of us if we let fear and ambition take over. One thing I've learned after all these years is that the best stories on this show are the ones that force us to confront uncomfortable truths about human nature. Willow's arc is doing that beautifully. She wanted to be seen as the town's savior while hiding her darkest deeds, and now the very people she helped are the ones who might bring her down. I keep thinking about how Laura will feel when she realizes the woman she trusted with something so delicate was playing a much deeper game. Will Chase regret leaning on her so heavily? And what about Nina? Will her regret come in time to save herself, or will it drag her deeper into the mess? As someone who has watched this soap through multiple head writers, cast changes, and even a few network shifts, I can tell you this current chapter feels like classic General Hospital at its most compelling. It's messy, emotional, and full of those "I can't believe she did that" moments we all live for. The adjustment happening now, the way the story is pivoting from Willow's carefully maintained illusion to the raw consequences of her choices, has me excited for what's coming next. Her world is crumbling, and the writers are promising some truly wild developments in the weeks ahead. I've been following Willow's journey with a mixture of hope and growing concern. For so long, she seemed like the quiet, resilient young woman we all wanted to see find her happily ever after. Yet, the layers of secrecy she's been building have turned her into something far more complicated. Lately, she's positioned herself as the town's go-to helper, assisting Chase with adoption matters, stepping in for Laura to sort out Anna's troubles in France. On the surface, it looked generous, even noble. But we've seen the other side. The calculated moves that left Drew paralyzed and pulled Nina into a web of wrongdoing with Brennan. I've whispered to my screen more than once, "Child, how long can this last?" Because anyone who's watched as many episodes as we have knows that in Port Charles, the truth always finds its way out, usually at the worst possible moment. What's unfolding now feels like the beginning of the end for Willow's carefully balanced double life. Laura and Chase are about to face some very serious consequences, and it all stems from an unexpected interaction with Willow that caught everyone off guard. I won't spoil the exact moment if you haven't caught the latest episode, but let me just say it left me staring at the television with my hand over my mouth. Laura, ever the steadfast mayor and protector of Port Charles, has placed her trust in Willow at a vulnerable time. Chase, still carrying the weight of fatherhood and his own past choices, leaned on her too. Now that unexpected conversation has opened a door they may wish had stayed closed. They're steeling themselves for fallout that could ripple through their families and reputations, and I feel for them. After all these years of watching Laura navigate crisis after crisis with such grace, it's painful to see her potentially blindsided by someone she believed was an ally. The beauty and the danger of this new chapter is how the writers are adjusting the truths we thought we understood. What once seemed like isolated secrets is now connecting in ways that feel almost dizzying. The story is shifting, revealing new layers that force us to reconsider everything we thought we knew about Willow's motives. It's one of those crazy turns General Hospital does so well, the kind that makes you lean forward and mutter, "Well, I didn't see that coming." I've always appreciated when the show takes risks like this. It reminds me of the bold storytelling from the 90s, when characters we loved suddenly showed darker sides, and we had to decide whether we could still root for them. Willow's world is teetering, and the adjustment of these fresh truths is creating ripples that no one in Port Charles can ignore. Even more intriguing is how this personal drama is colliding with bigger forces in town. Right now, Sidwell's empire is starting to shake, and the tremors are being felt everywhere. For those of us who followed the underbelly of Port Charles, the shady deals, the power struggles, the hidden alliances, this development feels like the perfect storm. Sidwell has loomed as a formidable presence, pulling strings that affected so many lives, and now cracks are appearing in that once solid foundation. I can't help but wonder if the writers are deliberately weaving this larger collapse into Willow's story. Is there a connection we haven't seen yet? Could the same forces that are toppling Sidwell's carefully built world also be the ones exposing Willow's secrets? It's the kind of layered plotting that keeps me coming back episode after episode. After watching the show through economic booms and busts, through cast changes and writing shifts, I've learned that when one empire starts to crumble, it often takes others down with it, or at least forces them to reveal their true colors. I have to admit, part of me feels a little protective of Laura and Chase as they prepare for what's ahead. They've both endured so much, Laura, with her years of leadership and personal losses, Chase with his dedication to doing the right thing, even when it hurts. Seeing them drawn deeper into Willow's orbit through that surprising interaction makes me pause and ask myself, have they been too trusting? Or is this simply the price of trying to help someone you believe deserves a second chance? I've lived long enough to know that real life often works the same way we extend grace to people, only to discover later that their struggles were more complicated than we realized. That's what makes General Hospital feel so authentic, even in its most dramatic moments. Nina's growing regret is playing its part too, adding another emotional thread to this tapestry. Her remorse over what happened with Brennan feels genuine, and I suspect it will become a pivotal piece in the larger puzzle. The way the story is adjusting these truths slowly, deliberately, has me excited for the weeks ahead. We're heading into territory that could bring genuine consequences, not just quick plot resets. Willow's downfall won't be tidy. It's going to affect friendships, family bonds, and even the balance of power in Port Charles, especially with Sidwell's empire already wobbling.